I look less awake than I actually am. I look pretty rough this morning, but I wanted to talk about something that I think is really important, which is kind of the hustle culture around entrepreneurship and if it really has to or needs to be that hard. I feel like okay, let me be real for a second. I've been feeling the pressure lately that I'm not doing enough, that I'm not being enough, that I'm not growing faster enough, that I'm not making enough money, and I'm sure that you feel that way too. I mean, there's lots of things that you feel like you could be doing better at, but when you try, you exhaust yourself, you risk burnout. That's something that I've been facing. You feel like you're becoming more stagnant, you're feeling like you're pulled in 10,000 different directions. You've got a million different obligations, you've got pets, you've got school loans, you've got multiple jobs, you're a working parent, you're a single parent, and putting that pressure on yourself to be more, do more, attain more is basically martyrdom. I don't know if you've read that book, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. I really like it. It's a bit older. I'd probably say it's close to 10 years old, but it's a really interesting book. It's a little more, I guess you could say it's a bit more spiritual, but it does kind of explore the relationship between ourselves, our humanness, and our creativity. And it just kind of makes me think about that because she touches on that in her book. Are you the martyr or are you the jokester? You know, do you try to keep things more lighthearted and just try to see the brighter side of things? Or do you feel like you suffer for your work in order for it to feel legitimate? And in my opinion, I always thought, oh, I'm the jokester. I've got such a positive attitude, such a healthy, positive outlook on life. And I do long term, short term, I am a martyr. I do feel like it doesn't count unless I suffer for my work, unless I suffer for my growth. I wouldn't necessarily consider myself an artist. I am a creative person, but I'm not an artist. I don't make things, you know? So when I say suffering for my work, I mean my work, like the stuff that pays me my work. And then I got to thinking, like, why is that the case? What happened that made me feel like it didn't count unless it hurt? So when I was in school, I went to a very nice, competitive upper middle class public school, and we were known as the rich school. Our school was really nice. I mean, it was just a really nice looking building. We were all high achievers, came from suburban parents who had high expectations of us. Our teachers had high expectations, and by extension we had high expectations of ourselves. So it was kind of considered normal to break your back and to be involved in 10,000 different activities while maintaining a 4.0 or plus GPA, maybe even working a job at the same time, doing AP prep classes, doing ACT tutoring. Like, I mean, I don't know how I survived high school, genuinely. And I watched students and peers and friends of mine break their backs for tests, for projects, for research and papers that they had to write. And I remember not working quite as hard as them, but still somehow managing to get a comparable grade. I was a pretty good student, and so I felt like if I wasn't stressing about it just as much as they were, then I maybe didn't deserve to have my grade. And I did at the time feel like that was kind of a weird thing, that like, why am I performing just as well as them, you know, give or take a few points, if I'm not working as hard as them? And I do think that is where the argument of working smarter versus harder comes in. And it's not like I didn't necessarily leave all the studying to the last minute, but I don't know, I'd probably take a crack at it for an hour or two and then move on to the next thing, versus friends of mine who I know for a fact would pull all-nighters. In my entire young adult life, I only ever pulled one all-nighter. And friends of mine who were in these rigorous college credit academic classes, I mean, it was not uncommon for them to get maybe 4 hours of sleep a night. Flash forward to today, I've been waking up at 5 a.m. for the past several months to just kind of squeeze in every little bit of productivity that I can so that I can take it easy for the rest of the day. But even if I work, let's say, from 5 until 2 or 3, which is not uncommon for me, I still don't feel like I've earned a break. I still don't feel like I've earned the rest of the day off. I feel like I've earned a decent 2 or 3 hour break, but then evening rolls around, I get bored and I don't know what to do with myself because I don't have any hobbies outside of the work that I do, and so I just go back to work. But I do like the work that I do. I really do enjoy doing the work that I do, but when you're someone who is as hard on yourself as I am, and I'm sure that you're equally as hard on yourself, it's hard to just rest and do something that's not productive, and to do something that is not tied to growth or money or progress in some kind of way. And it very well could just be the American Western kind of culture that we live in. If you live in the States, you know that, it's kind of the expectation that you grind and grind, try to get yourself out of the rat race. If you do not live in the States, I'm sure your culture is very different, or I don't know, maybe it's also very similar, but at least over here, our worth is tied to our productivity, which is not always the healthiest. 5-day work weeks, working 7 or 8 hours. No one is actually productive for the full 7 or 8 hours that they work every day for 5 days a week. No one ever does that. I've done that before because I put so much freaking pressure on myself. Does it work? Sometimes, I guess, if I have a big project or a big something that I'm working on, sure, yeah, I guess I'll do it. But I've been doing it long enough that it has me feeling burned out. And then the weekend hits and I'm rotting on my couch, losing IQ points, watching some dumb stuff on the TV that it doesn't make my life any better because I have no other extra capacity for constructive things in my life. Everything else outside of work feels like work, which is like not how it should be. So what am I doing to combat this? Well, firstly, and probably where I'm at right now, if I'm being honest, is just acknowledging that. And once you acknowledge that that's something that you suffer with, ask yourself, am I willing to actually do something about this rather than daydream about all the things that I could do about it? And that requires pulling a little extra energy that you might not have out of yourself to make your future self just a little bit happier. So what does this look like for me? Well, these are things that I'm just playing around with. I'm a very exploratory kind of person. I don't know what works until I just try 10,000 things. I started watching these YouTube videos over the weekend talking about how they just kind of dumbified their phone so it's not as accessible, it's not as much fun, because if I'm not rotting my brain watching dumb stuff on TV, I'm usually scrolling on my phone and I don't remember anything that I watched when I walk away from it. So I don't know if you can see that. This is what my phone looks like right now. It's not broken. I intentionally made it black and white. I know it looks like I still have like a lot of apps and stuff on my phone, but a lot of this stuff is not. It's just like boring adult stuff. There's no social media. There's no YouTube. I even deleted my email inbox on here. I mean, I kept some like restaurant apps, I kept my maps, I kept all my messaging apps, I kept my little bird listening app where it's really cool. If you play it, it identifies the bird based on the noises that it hears. It's really cool. It's called Merlin Bird ID if you care about that. But anyway, I basically dumbified my phone so that every time I turn it on, it is extremely boring to look at and there's nothing of importance on there unless it's purely functional. So I did that. The second thing is that I decided this morning, this is just baby step, I decided to not wake up at 5 a.m. this morning, because usually what happens is I wake up and I don't know what to do with myself because yesterday me didn't think ahead about what morning me would want to work on. So I feel like I'm wasting precious time, that being maybe 10 minutes, trying to figure out what should I do this morning. I'm already up. I have to do something. So what did I do? I woke up at 4:45 and then I checked my calendar and saw that, oh, I've got a bunch of meetings this afternoon. If I wake up now, I'm going to be dead by like noon or 1 o'clock. My meetings go until like 2 or 3. So maybe I just sleep in an extra hour and just kind of recover that time and not be so freaking tired. Because as prestigious as the 5 a.m. club is, where you can say that, oh, I woke up at 5 a.m. this morning, what did you do? You're just dead asleep on the couch, or at least I am. I'm just sunken into my couch, dead asleep by like 3 o'clock, and then I'm just a vegetable for the rest of the day. So I am kind of having to parent myself a little bit and be like, no, chill. You don't have to do everything all at once. You're a fully grown, fully functioning adult, making your own money, choosing your own schedule. You can do whatever the heck you want. If we're wanting all of this growth and if we're wanting to attract in all these great new opportunities, whatever they might be, we should probably take care of ourselves. What does that look like? Not being on our phone so much, right? Not watching TV so much. Yeah, reading books, touching grass. So they're just baby steps, but my God, it's just like this whole cultural thing. And then it's admirable when you do this kind of thing and you go against the grain, but if you sustain it and you're able to kind of keep those healthy boundaries in place with yourself, with your work, with your mentality, I mean, against the backdrop of the rest of Western society, it looks like you're not being productive enough. And then it's like this whole loop where it's like, this feels a lot better. I feel like I'm doing all the right things for myself. It feels like I'm able to do a lot more work without as much stress or as many hours, even though the rest of the world is like, well, I worked 14 hours today. What did you do? What did you do to put dinner on the table? Goes back to the high school testing, studying thing where it's like, I was able to achieve something comparable without having to put in so many hours for it because, like I said, No one in their right mind works a solid 8 to 10 hours a day. Unless, I don't know, you do manual labor or you do blue collar work or something. I really don't know. I can't speak to that, so I don't want to make anyone mad on that side. But at least with like more white collar jobs, no one who sits in a cubicle and works for the solid 8 hours that they are contracted to work or employed to work. I don't know. It's so interesting. I don't know if you've struggled with this kind of thing before, but I'm absolutely positive that you have. So if there's anything that you recommend, if you've like somehow managed to like take back your life and like enjoy yourself again, I would love to hear it. But anyway, I've got some stuff that I gotta do, so I gotta hop off. But I don't know. I hope you're able to like resonate with this kind of thing. Subscribe if you're like into this.